going on, everybody? Sean Daniel with the Guitar Control here. Today we've got something special because I am going to introduce a course that I've been making specifically for beginner, intermediate guitar players that are maybe just getting their hands used to some of these different chords and chord voicings and stuff. But we're doing it in a totally song-based approach where we're just taking 10 chords that you need to know and really being able to play almost any song that you could ever find with just these 10 chords. So there's going to be a link in the description below that gets you on kind of like a pre-order list for the class that I think is really cool. Spent a lot of time on it and I'm pretty proud of it, and I hope you like to check it out. Today we're actually going to talk about maybe like the first 6 chords that you want to start out with, just to kind of get a little preliminary understanding for the course, which we're also going to go into in the actual course itself. But I did want to get ahead of the ball, start talking about just like the first few chords you need if you're just starting out, or if you're having trouble with like bar chords, anything like that. A lot of the stuff is going to be really helpful. All right. So the reason that I chose 6 chords particularly for this lesson is because I really want to go over just all the main chords in one key, which is really a great place to kind of start. Now, we're not going to talk about these in the context of any song, but using just these 6 chords, you can really play any song. So just to breeze through them, we're going to go over each one individually after this. It's C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and A minor. If you can only learn 6, make these the 6. And if some of these are hard for you, that is okay. We've all been there, but we're going to talk about easier ways to play them too. So this is in the key of C. All that means is C is a collection of 7 different notes that sound good together. 6 of those notes become very common chords that you'll see in almost any song, any kind of chord sheet that you'll ever see. 3 of them are major, 3 of them are minor, right? We get into the minute differences of all of those in the class, but again, just talk about the shapes and maybe some of the fingerings. We're going to start with the first chord in the key of C major, which is a C major chord. Looks like this. All right, now there are a couple different ways to play this chord, and that's one important thing to understand is when you look up a chord chart online, maybe in a book or something, usually they're teaching you one way to play a chord. And my first experience with this was that like, this is how you play the C major chord. But this is really just one of many ways to play a C major chord, and they're really all over the neck. So just thinking of that as a fundamental way to start approaching chord building, because it's really going to make things a lot easier if transitioning between a lot of these chords is very difficult for you, all right? But we are going to talk about the traditional voicing of a C major, voicing just being one way to play a C major chord. Pointer finger is on the 1st fret of the B string, okay? Now really, you can get away with just playing the bottom 3 strings now. And those are the notes that you need to play a C major, a C, an E, and a G note, right? So we can play a C major just like that. Totally acceptable, really easy, but we don't get that nice full acoustic guitar sound that you've probably heard on like a lot of your favorite songs and records, right? So this gets the job done, but this is the real deal way to do it right here. So the next thing we're gonna do is add your middle finger to the 2nd fret on the D string, okay? So now we have 1 B, 2 D, and then your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. Okay, so that is kind of the most traditional voice of a C major chord that you'll see. Now that doesn't mean you always have to use just these fingers to do it. Any way you can kind of get these fingers and these notes down is what we're going for. Now, you might think, and I thought when I was first starting out, that I'm really only playing 3 notes here. But just because I'm only fretting 3 notes with my fingers, it doesn't mean that the open strings don't count as notes. So I'm strumming the bottom 5 strings, hence I'm getting 5 notes, even though they're the same 3 notes. Some of them have duplicates, right? So C major, the 1 chord in the key of C. Now it just works like the alphabet. So what's the letter after C? D. We're gonna go to D minor. The 2nd chord in any key is always gonna be a minor chord. So D minor looks like this. We have 1st fret on the E string with your pointer finger, 3rd fret on the B string, lady or gentleman's choice with either the pinky or the ring finger, whatever's easier for you right now. I'm going to use my pinky because I'm an OG. 2nd fret on the G string with your middle finger, bottom 4 strings. That's a D minor chord, all right? Now, aside from just practicing, okay, picking up a guitar, playing a D minor chord, that's cool, but there's no context. One great way about learning this way, and what we'll talk more about in the class that I put together, is doing these chords in context from one to another and maybe little kind of cheat ways to get to them. So we have a C major to a D minor. Now, one thing that I'm always thinking is like, okay, I'm going from here to here. I'm gonna compartmentalize a lot of this. So my pointer finger is gonna go down a string to here, the first fret, and my middle finger is also gonna go down a string. So really, you kind of just move this down a string and then add another finger. So it's kind of like a chain reaction, because when you're first starting out, you almost have to be like, all right, I got this going, now I gotta get this, and then I gotta get this, and by the time I get this, that's gone, and it's like, oh, what just happened? So a lot of what we're talking about is just really kind of going efficiently to the next chord. D minor is the second chord in the key of C. Third chord, crowd pleaser, everyone's favorite, E minor. The third chord in any key is also a minor chord. So C, D, E, E minor. Open E, 2A, 2D, middle finger, ring finger. Again, these are just different ways. It doesn't matter how you do it. I personally think this is usually the easiest way to play with your middle finger and your ring finger. And then open all the way down the line. Now again, you can get away with playing a really easy version of this just by hitting the highest three strings. That's an E minor. So the beginner's E minor, the champion's E minor, right? So we have C major, D minor, E minor. Then we get to the dreaded F major. F major chord is kind of the bane of a lot of people's existence. It's killed the inspiration of many enthusiasts on guitar, because a lot of times when you see it in a book, it looks like this. And when you're first starting out, this is literally the last thing you're going to be able to do. Like, oh, let me just slap this one finger across the fret with the most tension on the neck and then make a shape with the rest of my hand. I think that is a little bit beyond just starting out, but that doesn't mean that you can't play a very easy version of an F major chord, because you're going to see it in so many songs, right? That's why it's really just learning a few chords and applying them to all these different songs and seeing how they work. So instead of doing this F major bar chord, we're going to take a piece of this that looks a lot like a C major chord, right? So let's go back and take that C major chord. Looks like this, right? 3A, 2D, open G, 1B. Now, if we just take your ring finger and your middle finger, keep your pointer finger exactly where it is, move the other fingers down one string, we end up with 3D, 2G, and 1B. Now, I just want to hit those three strings, okay? And that's an easier version of an F. It's really just like a C. If you can play a C chord, you can definitely play this F chord. There's really no difference as far as the difficulty of it, but there is a difference sonically between this F chord and this F chord, okay? But, trust me, tons of professional guitar players, myself included, use a different version of an F chord instead of always having to play an F bar chord, because if you're playing like a long set or a long gig or just a long practice session on an acoustic guitar with thicker strings, bar chords can become an issue, right? So C major 1, D minor 2, E minor 3, F major 4, G major 5, all right? G major, another great one, and one I think that has an instant payoff because it's not that difficult once you get your hand under it, and it just sounds really good. So I'm gonna start with my middle finger on the low E string and my ring finger on the high E string, and then my pointer finger on the second fret of the A string, and then strum all six. It's a G major chord, all right? Now, one thing that was confusing to me when I first started was, well, sometimes I see G major look like this, where my ring finger is on the third fret of the B string, so it's like 3E, 3A, 2A, 3B, and 3E. You see it like this, you see it like this, you see it like this. Why are there all these different types of G chords? They're just different types of voicings. So, there is a sonic difference between that and that. I personally think it's kind of negligible, and it really just depends on the context of what you're doing, right? So let's add that to the gauntlet that we're running. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and then the people's choice, A minor, okay? Solid chord to end this group of 6 that we got going on here, right? Again, let's make that C major chord and do this in context from another chord instead of just jumping cold onto the fretboard, right? I always think it's easier to come from context to a chord that maybe you're more familiar with. So really rock that C major out, because as we've already seen with the F, It's a kind of a movable shape that we can alter to really help us out. If you can make the C major chord, pick up your ring finger, and then tuck it behind your middle finger, you got yourself an A minor chord. All right? Major, C, A, minor, bottom 5 strings. Okay? And that completes the 6 main chords you want to start off with, the 6 main chords in the key of C. We're going to talk about using a capo in that course to kind of use these 6 chords to play almost every other song that you got to find with the knowledge of how to move them around with the capo, but also adding different things too, in case you run into a song that maybe goes in and out of key. But again, one more time on this run here. C major 1, D minor 2, E minor 3, F major 4, G major 5, A minor 6. Any combination of those chords are going to sound really good. You cannot screw it up compositionally if you know those 6 chords and can switch from one to another. So we're going to go through all this, plus really 4 other chords that you kind of need to know just to have all your bases covered and be able to play in really any key. 10 basic chords. I think it's a really great way to kind of start getting into guitar and then maybe taking your playing to the next level by kind of experiencing it through the joy of song. We're going to pick a lot of famous songs that are beloved and just like the musical community in general. They don't even have to be guitar songs, as you'll see. So make sure to click that link below to be notified when the course goes live, because we're doing the pre-order pretty soon. And definitely in the comment section, let me know if you have any questions or comments, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks a lot.